There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the old ceremonial hunting tradition of eating the heart out of the first animal you kill. Meat from those organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. You can get those same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And remember, use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase.
Welcome to the Wired to Hunt podcast, your home for deer hunting news, stories, and strategies. And now, your host, Mark Kenyon.
Welcome to the Wired to Hunt podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kenyon, and this is episode number 359. And today in the show, we are catching up with Dan Johnson on summer trail camera work, summer scouting, summer preparations for the season, and a little bit of fun in between. All right, welcome to the Wired to Hunt podcast, brought to you by Onyx. Today is one I've been looking forward to for weeks now. We're going to talk about summer whitetail prep. We're going to talk about trail cameras and scouting and velvet bucks and all that good stuff. But that's the kind of thing, you get to hear on a weekly basis on this podcast and other podcasts. But what you don't get to hear as often, especially anymore now that we're busy fathers and business owners and all this crazy stuff we got going on, what you don't get to hear as much is what I need more in my life. It's Dan Johnson and Mark Kenyon talking about stupid stuff like peanut butter and kids and who knows what else.
Have we ever talked about peanut butter before?
For sure. I'm pretty sure for some reason I'm thinking of some kind of weird kid store with peanut butter. Isn't there something like your kids were doing with peanut butter? Or maybe I'm thinking of the dog food one. The one time you opened up a can of dog food and thought it was human food and ate it. That one maybe?
Yeah. I can see that happening. I really don't even question things anymore. If someone told me, dude, you're a murderer, I'd be like, yeah, I probably did.
It could have happened.
I don't even remember what happened last week. So
how are you, my friend?
I'm good, dude. Just sitting here with a nice glaze of sweat here in Iowa. It's hot, it's humid, it's normal, and I don't know, just living life, I guess.
Just living life. It's funny. We were just talking before we started recording. We've been doing this podcast for 6 years now, or 7. The spring of 2014. So 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 7 seasons now worth of the Wired Hunt podcast, and you've been on a ton of them.
Yeah.
In all that time, we've probably gotten a little smarter. Maybe we've gotten a little bit better deer hunting. We've grown our families, but we're still doing some super hillbilly shit. Like I'm recording in my truck. You're recording with like fans and AC units running in the background. Just
no shirt on today.
No shirt on for you.
No shirt on, dude. I wish you could. I'm glad this isn't a video podcast, right? Where you can see me in all my love that God has given me.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I'm recording in Idaho right now, so our place out here is so small that I can't record in the house when the kids are napping. So I'm in the truck, and then when I'm at home, I still have to do the same thing you do. I have to turn off my little mobile AC unit in my home office when it's super duper hot because that's too loud. So I usually record shirtless in Michigan too. So
maybe we should do a shirtless episode, man. Video episode, shirtless. I think that's the only thing that we haven't really done is expose ourselves physically to our listeners.
That might be the straw that broke the camel's back, the dude. Like we've been riding on what do they say? Riding on riding on bought time butt.
Yeah. Rules? I don't know.
I thought you were gonna help me out with that one. I don't have the words right now.
Dude, you're the guy who wrote a book. I can't barely talk. I yell at my kids. I'm yelling at my kids, and I don't even say their names right. So no one's looking at me. Everyone's ignoring me, and I just sound like I'm having a stroke.
So what's new with the kids? Because that's something we haven't got to catch up on in a while. Family, Dan Johnson family stories. Any crisis? Any crazy stuff? Any destroyed furniture? Anything good there?
It's nothing. I mean, there's literally a crazy story every single day in our house, but we've lost 2 remotes. So we had to buy a third one. So we get home from the store, and then my 2 boys, they start fighting with each other. They're like wrestling hard. And then, the wrestling turns into a fight. And then my oldest son picks my youngest son up and throws him against the chair. The chair breaks, and what pops out? One of the remotes that's lost.
Wow.
So there's that.
There's always a silver lining.
Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of feces stories.
I had feces stories.
Oh, I love a good feces story.
Well, ours was just, so we're out in Idaho. We're trying to do the whole hiking and still getting out in the wild with the kids, but Everett is 2.5 now, and a little over 2, I guess. And then Colt is 5 months old. Mm-hmm. So, as you know, it just gets harder when you've got kids in those age ranges. And we're still we're testing, like, what can we do? What can we get away with? And so we decide, all right, we're going to go and do a longer hike than we usually try to do, get more elevation than usual. We're going to go kind of ascend this ridge way up above tree line in the Tetons. But it wasn't too long of a hike. It was still a reasonable distance, but you were kind of going up there. And I was confident. I was telling Kylie, they've been so good. We can do it. We won't have too many issues. You just got to assume something little is going to go wrong. We'll roll with it. Well, we're getting up there. We get to the top. It's beautiful. We take a break. We're resting. And then all of a sudden, I'm trying to remember if this was before Colt's riding in a chest pack on Kylie. And then Everett, if he's not walking, he'll ride in the backpack on my back. And so Colt, all of a sudden, just hear this enormous bowel movement, just rumbling, thunder erupting. And usually you've got a little time. Usually it's like going to happen. You hear it, and then it continues for 5-10 seconds, and then you go find stuff. You find a diaper, you find wipes, and then you go and change them. Well, the sound was still emitting from his ass, and there's stuff squirting out all over Kylie, and we're 4 miles or whatever it was away from the trailhead. And I think we only brought 1 extra diaper for each kid, and explosion all over him, all over her. We deal with that, and then my son, we're still trying to get potty trained with him and stuff. Son number 1, we have the exact same thing happen with him, but instead of an explosion, I just had forgotten to check on him, and for whatever reason, I hadn't been paying attention. And then we're walking around, and I see he's pulled his shorts down, but his diaper is like a balloon that's sticking out over top of them. So his shorts are kind of riding just below his butt with this balloon diaper sticking out the back, and you can see brown stuff.
Oh, yeah. The double blowout is what I call that.
The double blowout, miles from civilization, not enough equipment at all, not enough wipes, no extra clothes. So we're riding, coming back down the hill, like one kid's wearing shorts, one kid's wearing nothing. You just have to roll it.
Wash them down.
Did it. We did
throw them in a creek.
We should have. We survived. We made it out. So I feel like that's been the name of the game for all the stuff we've been doing this summer. It's just survival. It's just like get through it and move on to the next thing.
Yeah. That's all you can do in a scenario like that. Because what's that? There's a famous quote in the movie Point Break where where he's like,
of course, all those famous quotes from Point Break.
But he's just like, God, I'm going to screw it up. And I love that movie. It's like failure leads to hesitation leads to fear, and fear leads to death, or something like that. And I'm screwing this up. Someone's going to roast me for this, but Fear causes hesitation, and hesitation causes your worst nightmares to come true. That's what it is.
There you go.
So you can't hesitate in a scenario like that. You just gotta, scoop the poop and go.
Yeah, man. I was thinking we need to do another episode with you, myself, and Andy Bradley. Remember we did that Raising Outdoor Kids episode a couple years ago? I was thinking we should try to do one like every 2 years. Update it, yeah, and see like what have we learned in the last 2 years. And that was almost exactly 2 years ago. So maybe the next one we do in a few weeks, we should try to do that. Because there's so much kid stuff that I'm slowly figuring out now that I'm catching up to you a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always an adventure, that's for sure. Trying to just get out in doing the stuff you want to do still and finding some way to make it happen with the new constraints of parenthood is probably the biggest thing that I'm thinking about so much more now. It's going from like, I don't know, knowing the right stuff to do or doing like, am I doing enough of it? Now it's all just like efficient. How can I become more efficient? How can I get the minimum amount done in the minimum amount of time just so I can keep my head above water?
Yeah. I got a little story for you. How long did you go during the COVID, pandemic here that we're in? How long did you go without a haircut?
I went a pretty long time. I don't know, 2 months. 2 months.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I don't know, 2 months, 3 months, something like that.
Okay. So quick story here. My wife is in the kitchen trying to cut Mac's hair, and she's not doing a very good job. I take the clippers from her. I start going to town, and crazy enough, it comes out looking like a professional haircut. Okay.
It looks is the
good.
Crazy story that you're about to announce a new part-time job?
No. The crazy story is coming. So the second, now it's Knox's turn a couple weeks later, and he's 2, so he's going to move around a lot, and it turned out great, except for, a couple, hey, he moved type of situations.
Yeah.
So a month has passed. It's time for Mac to get another haircut. Now I'm cocky, right? And long story short, Mac now has a mohawk.
I feel like Mac has been deserving of a mohawk. Like that seems like something he would rock on purpose.
Oh, he's rocking it. It looks real good, actually. He flinched real hard and then the guard was pushed down back into the clippers, and then I followed through with my stroke, and it just took this big chunk right out of his head, like big chunk of hair down to the one guard out. So there's not much you can do to fix that except follow through.
Just take it off
with full hawk. I went full hawk, spiked it up, and now he looks like a badass.
I believe it. Isn't that funny that that's the same kind of thing we've started to do, is doing the self haircut. My wife has started doing the haircuts, and it's not perfect, but it's kind of serviceable. I could almost see myself just sticking with this. It's good enough. I don't need it to be perfect.
Right.
Save you the trip and some time and money, I guess, in the future.
Yep. So my wife came home and she took a look at it, and she said, "You're never cutting the kids' hair again."
I was hoping that she was going to let you have a free pass.
Nope. No, there's no free pass with that in my life. I got X'd.
Are you disappointed by that? Or are you glad to be off the hook?
It doesn't bother me. It's just one less thing I have to do. Now, I think I should fail at other things more often, so her expectations of me can be much lower.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the trick that a lot of us do, right? It's you do such a horrible job with the dishes or something that they're like, "Oh, just let me do it," and they move on. That's always a good strong move to play during household stuff, parent stuff.
I try.
Ah, man, life. What am I trying to say here? I find myself needing what you needed so often years ago, where you would get on the phone with me for these podcasts and just be like, I need to talk about something other than kids,
what's going on,
whatever kind of craziness. Yeah. And that's definitely where we're at right now.
Okay. So my first question's for you, because we're going to talk about whitetails, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So my first question to you is, you're out in Idaho right now. Do you have a designated trail camera checker who goes in while you're out there, checks the cams, and sends you back the intel.
I should, but no, I don't.
No. Okay.
In past years, I've set cameras before I take off and just let them sit, and then I come back in August and check them. But this year, it was just such a cluster with so many different things going on, and kids and everything. I just didn't put any cameras out at all. I said, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to put them in August when I get back because I'm gone till August.
You have no cameras out right now.
I have 0 cameras out. I know.
That almost like stings a little bit hearing that.
I don't like it either, Dan. I don't like it either.
Not even a soaker. No soakers out there.
No, I should have soakers. That's on me. That's on me. But I'll tell you, and one of the things that I thought maybe would make sense to get into is those pictures that you get, in June, July, especially June. July, not as much, but June, really, that's just like I'm anxious to get pictures. I just want to see something for fun, but they don't do a whole lot for you. Like you can get away. There's nothing. Tell me if I'm wrong. Prove me wrong here, but I would say that I am losing no value whatsoever in not having cameras up until August. I can get everything I need as far as summer inventory in the month of August, and then, it changes in September. But in August, at least, I get everything I need to know as far as full potential of what the bucks will be. I'll know every buck that was there in the summer, and I don't need to look at a half-grown buck and think to myself, is he going to be 120 or 130 or whatever,
How far into August are we talking here?
First day or two.
Okay, first day or two. Yeah, maybe. But man, there are still some deer that make these rounds, and I'm talking from, where I hunt, where they may be there late July, mid-July, disappear, maybe come back in September, disappear, and then they won't show back up until the rut. So it's all about knowing what is out there still. Like, oh, dude, he's back. But that's just me.
Well, don't you put your cameras out often, like at least in the past term, or usually like early July, and then you do your first check in early August? Is that right?
Well, I got mine out in June this year, June 1st. I was down there, dropped my kids off at the mom's, had to go do a little work on the farm. I volunteered to help the landowner do some stuff. And while I was out there, I did some tree stand and trail camera stuff. So not this coming weekend, which is the 4th of July, but it would be the following weekend. I'm heading back down there, dropping the kids off at their grandparents', and I'm going to check some cameras.
Do you have any other intel from other people or from sightings in the winter or anything that tells you like you're expecting any certain bucks to have made it?
Okay. So the only thing that gives me there's some obvious ones, right? That if things go well,
Dork will be there.
Yeah. Well,
every year for 15 years,
he'd be 11 years old this year.
That's insane. But didn't you get a picture of him last year?
Yeah, a couple pictures of him last year,
and
he looked healthy. I mean, he looked old, but he looked healthy. And then obviously Gnarley Charlie, I'd love to see him again. He'd be like a 6 or 7 year old, probably 7-year-old this year. And then other than that, I left a camera out all winter long, all spring long, so the last time I checked it was the day before I shot my buck this year. And then I let it soak the entire spring, and it gave out somewhere about, mid to late April, right? That's when the batteries.
Was that on purpose, or did you forget about it? And then all of a sudden one day you're like, oh man, there's still that camera there.
No, I felt confident in this spot. It's just real deep in the farm. It's hard to get to. Nobody goes back there except the farmers when they plant and harvest, and that's about it.
Because I was going to say, those are the best surprises. I love it when I forget a camera, and then all of a sudden I walk and I'm like, I didn't know this was here.
Yeah. No, I knew this one was here. I had it marked on Onyx, right? So I walk up to it, I throw it in my truck, get back home here, check it, and late December. I'm going to have to say that this buck got displaced during shotgun season, but and then I start looking through my pictures, right? And I have 3 pictures of him coming through the farm on 2 different trail cameras. Well, 3 pictures on each camera. So a six total, making this big loop through the farm. And then he he came through one way, after, like during the second shotgun season. 3 days later, same trail, right back across the creek into the neighboring farm. And so I think I got one other picture of him in February. And then all of a sudden I had this big buck kind of coming through back and forth, kind of on a regular basis, but he had dropped. So I'm not 100% sure it was him or not, but he's an absolute giant 9-pointer. I think he is, with a split G2, just a crazy, like he's a giant. He's 170 as a 9-pointer.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, I guess him at 5 or older, but I mean, he's big, and he came through the farm one time during the season, and then one time looks like he had been displaced from a shotgun. So I think I know where he's living and what farm he's coming from. It's just a matter if he's coming through the property during daylight, which he's never done before, really. So
Okay. Well, it's July when this comes out. It's the season of dreaming. Let's just dream, hypothetically. Let's say he rolled through your property last winter. He liked the looks of it. He realized that there wasn't another top dog that was going to steal the best bedding area or whatever. He decides he's going to shift over here and hang out. He's back for 2020.
Yeah.
He shows back up in September.
Mm-hmm.
You get your first look at him. What does he look like this year, Dan? If you had to guess.
Oh, so this is a hypothetical.
Yeah, this is a hypothetical. What do you imagine he's going to look like this year? Because this can be like, I say be blindly optimistic about it.
Blindly optimistic.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. I'm going to say he's going to pop into a 10, because it looked like he had a little nub on the end of his, right between, on the 4-point side. He had a little nub that looked like it could have either been broken or it's going to pop into something. So I'm going to say he's a 10-pointer now. He's going to still have the split, maybe a little junk around his bases.
Now, hold on. Does the 10 points include the split, or is he like a mainframe 10 with
mainframe 10 with extra?
So, okay, technically 11-pointer and more junk?
And maybe just some small junk. Maybe not even scoreable junk, but more junk on the bases. And he'll probably be in the 175 to 180 as a 10.
How deep's that split?
It's not very deep.
Even
It's
this year?
It may go a little bit deeper this year, but it's not huge. I mean, he'll be, I would be getting cocky here if I said it's a deep split, Mark. Okay.
Well, he sounds pretty cool to me. He sounds pretty cool.
Right. And I just imagine him really liking to rub cedars, right?
Yeah.
He's a homebody. He doesn't like to wander off, but he'll fight for that first hot doe. He has no problem fighting.
Of course he would. What about the bases, though? I imagine if he's a cedar rubber, he's got to be one of those Coke can bases, right? With all that junk and stuff, right?
Mark, I've never been one to brag about the deer that I hypothetically create in my head. But I'm guessing him to be just a little bit smaller than, he's not going to have Coke cans. He's going to have maybe like Red Bull bases.
That's not bad.
Not bad.
A
little smaller.
I'm going to assume it's the big Red Bull, not the tiny 6-ounces or whatever, the bigger Red Bull cans. And in that case, then yes, I support that hypothetical base measurement. I'm excited for the trail camera pictures of this guy.
Yeah.
If somehow you nailed it, I don't know how we can commemorate it or how we can celebrate it, but if this buck looks exactly like that, I don't know. I'm going to be floored.
Right. And I will defecate myself if I shoot a 180-inch 10-pointer with a split.
Heck yeah. Oh, man, that's awesome. I love one of my favorite things, just like driving back and forth, especially when I used to do more of like those Ohio trips I used to do so often with Corey or Josh. When you're bored and it's like midnight and you're almost home and you're trying to think of something just to stay awake, we'd always do these hypotheticals where we would do something like that. Like, tell me about your hypothetical buck, or would you rather shoot a drop tine or a split tine, or would you rather this or this? And just a stupid conversation like that was just what you need to get through that long drive. Yeah.
I don't do the typical versus non-typical thing in my head. I don't even know, like for me, it doesn't matter. I don't care if they're typical or if they're non-typical, but what I like to do is exactly what we just did. And that is try to figure out what that deer is going to be like next year. Like if you say, for me, it would be, all right, so I had a 3.5-year-old that I passed. What's he going to do this year? Is he just going to be the same and blow up? Because I have that 11 pointer that in the same tree, in the same area that I got this big 170, I now have that buck, that 3-year-old that I passed.
Yeah, like early in the rut, right?
Yeah, right. Early in the rut, he came right in, and I was filming him straight down with my cell phone, and I'm imagining what he turns into, because he also made it through the shotgun season.
Well, what?
So
I can't not ask now. What's he going to look like?
Oh, geez, Mark.
We're just going to ride this horse till it dies. Another hour of hypotheticals.
Right. Okay, let's see here. He's going to be the exact same tight racked buck with more mass. He's not going to be out past his ears. He's going to have more mass. And I'm going to guess he's going to have a couple 5-inch, 5.5, maybe even a 6-inch mass measurement on some of his measurements. But he's also going to have maybe 10 to 11-inch G2s, and then they'll slowly work their way down from there.
That's a beautiful deer. I love a tight and tall buck like that.
Now, a lot of you guys are familiar with the old hunting tradition of eating, some organ, the heart or a chunk of liver off the first animal you kill. I had that when I was a little kid, and it was a big deal. Organ meats were always prized by frontier people who knew the importance of getting a lot of different minerals and nutrients. And as often is the case, those guys were onto something, because organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. And you can get the same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil, made exclusively from regeneratively raised, grass-fed, and finished cattle. Heart and Soil's unique freeze-drying process means all those important nutrients are trapped in, ensuring you experience every one of the benefits of nature's superfood in a clean, convenient, taste-free capsule. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And make sure to use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase. That's heartandsoil.co. Use the code MeatEater.
We've all seen plenty of gadgets and fads come and go, but here's one product that stood the test of time: Seafoam Motor Treatment. Lots of hunters and anglers know that Seafoam helps engines run better and last longer. And it's really simple. When you pour it into your gas tank, Seafoam cleans harmful fuel deposits that cause engine problems. I'm talking common stuff like hard starts, rough engine performance, or lost fuel economy. Seafoam is an easy way to prevent or overcome these problems. Just pour a can in your gas tank and let it do its job. Now, you probably know someone who's used a can of Seafoam to get their truck or boat going again, because people everywhere rely on it to keep their trucks, boats, and small engines running the way they should the entire season. So, help your engine run better and last longer. Pick up a can of Seafoam today at your local auto parts store, or visit seafoamworks.com to learn more.
Now, you and me, we've said 1,000 times on our podcast, it's not all about the antlers. That's not what it is. But it is still a cool thing. Like, they are
It's a little bit about the antlers.
It is
right?
cool. They are awesome critters to watch, and I don't know. You can't help but be fascinated by them. Can I do one?
Yeah. Because it's Tran, right?
Yes, Tran.
So what did Tran look like this year, and what is he going to look like this year?
So Tran was just a tight and tall 8-pointer. He had really long G2s and then shorter G3s, and good brow tines, something like 5-inch brow tines, maybe a little more than that on some of them, or on one side. And he had a little kicker coming off of his left side base, about 1 inch long. So I'm looking at him right now. As you know, I found his match set, both of them sitting right next to each other in the cornfield. He's going to stay a big 8, big mainframe 8. His G2s, like I said, are both, like, I think one was 10 and one was 11, or 9.5 and 11, something like that. Both very, very long. I'm guessing those are going to just be foot longers, 12 or 13-inch G2s, just daggers. But one of them was starting to blade out a little bit this year. So I think they're both going to get like fully bladed. So like 12-inch bladed G2s. Nice. His G3s are both going to get like really respectable, like 5 or 6 inch, really good G3s. And then again, he's got these tall brow tines that kind of curl out a little bit. So I'm going to say they're just going to grow maybe another inch each. So let's say 6 to 7 inch brow tines. But that little sticker on the base, he's going to match on the other side. So he's going to have these kind of unicorn points from the bases, one on each side, about 2 inches long. So if I were to see this buck for the first time ever, I might jump to a cliche name like Hook or something for his name. And good mass. I say it's kind of average mass this past year, and I think he'll kind of continue with that. So in 2020, he was just over 125 last year. He looked bigger than that, but that was what he scored out to be for whatever that's worth. I'm going to put him as like 140-ish 8-pointer this year. Maybe a little bigger than that with those G2s. I don't know.
Okay. I thought maybe with your imagination, you would have thrown like, maybe late in the season he was wounded and it's going to cause him to grow a 12-inch drop tine.
See, I thought I was pushing my luck with the bladed G2s. I don't know, man. If a buck like that is running around, that's going to be enough to make me lose my mind. So
yeah,
I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited to see these summer trail camera pictures. And the cool thing is that the property that buck is on has beans again on it, and it has had beans on it. It usually flip flops, but last year, because of the wonky spring, what was it, really dry? I think. Why was it that everything got in so late? I'm trying to remember. It was drought, right?
Yeah, I think.
Or was it too wet? Why can't I remember this?
You mean last year?
Yeah, last year. Remember, no one got their crops in on time, and everything was all messed up.
I think it was July. We went through a kind of a drought, and then September and October got wet.
Yeah, this shows you how much mental damage I've gotten over the years with kids. Point being, they didn't plant the fields like they usually do last year, so they actually split the farm up. Half the farm was corn, half the farm was beans, instead of the whole thing. So this would be my third year in a row now with beans on some portion of the farm, which just makes for that really cool summer viewing. So I'm hoping I'll get my third summer in a row that I can watch him, which is just a lot of fun to be able to do that. And you know how that is. That's just a fun thing this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm just, it's the trail camera thing, right? I mean, for me, this year is going to be about trail cameras and basically just sitting and waiting, because if I get a summer pick of Gnarley Charlie, it's going to dictate a lot of what I do. I'm going to be able to cut off the farm in half. I'm probably going to ignore it. And then I'm going to just focus on the routes that he's been running for the past couple of years and put myself in the best possible position for him.
Okay, so you believe that the intel you got last year, I know last summer we had a podcast just like this, almost the exact same time, when you said that you were creating your Dan Johnson points on the map, connect the dots between the trail cameras strategy. And so you did that, you crossed off half the farm, and then last fall you started hunting that zone, and then you had your first sighting of him. That takes us to now this year. So if you get the confirmation he's alive, he made it, then you cross off that map again, the part that he wasn't on. But what different? Like, how have you tightened the noose anymore since last November when you saw him? I mean, are you going to do like the circle of cameras in that area and keep on adjusting, or what there?
Yep. So what I'll do is I will cut the farm in half, really focus on, because I put more cameras in that area this year. So I have more intel this past year on him than I did the previous year. So it's just more of the routes that he's taking, and I'm putting myself in just continuing to shrink down that area and hopefully find the doe group that's working its way through the area and pulls him through. Or I still don't think he's betting on my property that I have access to. I think he's coming from a different property, but it's really close. It's really close. I just have to try to find where he's coming. I think he's traveling a long way in a day, going from where he feels comfortable in his bedding area on a different farm, coming through the properties that I have access to, and making it like being nocturnal there, and then kind of working his way back is what I'm thinking he's doing. Or what he'll do is he'll come through for like a 3-day cycle. He'll work the farm for 3 days and then 2 days maybe, and then go back.
So is there anything you can do right now or, over the next 2 months to prepare for that? Like, are you going to, I don't know, are you doing anything different with your summer trail cameras than you usually do to confirm his presence? Or is it kind of the standard approach that you take?
Yeah, it's a standard approach because, like I've said a million times, the September shift hits and things just shut off, right? And then it isn't until, so I guess the not last year, but the previous 2 years, he didn't show up in the farm until late October. Well, this year I added a couple trail cameras, right? So I don't have any intel until I get a trail camera picture of him. And then, so the additional trail cameras that I added caught him early October, like October 3rd, middle of the night, October 17th, broad daylight, middle of the day. So I think he got bumped, right? And then he started making his rounds late October, the 29th. So he's around. And the only reason I think that one was a daylight is because, I don't know, farming activities, or, a dog running through the woods, or somebody else, running through the woods. Yeah. Don't know, but yeah.
Have you considered trying to see him in the summer in the evenings at all to see confirmed presence, like glassing on your property or neighboring properties or anything like that?
Yeah, this year it's tough because I would have to go through a cornfield to get to the bean field, and I really don't want to bump him. And if what I'm thinking is right, if I'm thinking he's coming off of another property, he's not getting to the bean field until after dark anyway.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. What about you? Have you been thinking about strategy with Tran?
I have. I think my dilemma with that one is two things. I've got like two competing pressures. I've got one thing being that there's an increasing number of people that I know that are hunting that deer, I guess, or like deer in the area. Like the deer I could hunt are also now on the radar of other people who I'm hearing from who are also like serious hunters. So there's just more competition from people that kind of know what they're doing. And maybe that was happening before and I just didn't know it. But now that I know it, there's this new sense of, crap, if I don't get him, such and such will, So that's telling me hunt earlier, try to get it done sooner than later. But then on the other side, I have, last year's observations and trail camera data, which other than opening day, I didn't get any daylight pictures or sightings of him all the way until Halloween. So I got no daylight confirmation of him all through October. The year previous to that, I did have October daylight movement. Last year, no October movement. And then once Halloween hit, though, he was very active for most of November and then a little bit in December too. So that tells me, play it safe, wait till late October, and then hit it hard then. On the flip side, though, another reason why I should maybe be more aggressive early is that I've got a really packed slate of back 40 hunts that I'm going to be, on that property for, that's going to keep me from the Tran property for a lot of the good stuff in November. So that said, I'm a little bit up in the air, but I'm probably going to be more aggressive. I'm going to take the stab early, and then I'm going to probably push a little bit more here and there in October when the conditions are right. I think the one thing, like, I've started hunting a little bit more in mid-October than I used to for a while early on there, but was pretty careful. Again, the story. listeners know the story of this particular property. Small, a lot of field edges, can't get into too much of the bedding areas. But there's a couple spots that I think I can push in a little further than I used to. It might just be 30 yards further in, 40 yards further in. But I've started to get a little more confidence in my ability to do that without spooking him. I've confirmed 1 or 2 other spots that I'm pretty sure there are bucks bedded deeper in the core of one of these locations where I was worried they might be, some of them might be a little bit closer to the edge that would keep me from being able to get in there safely. I think with some scouting I did this winter, I found 2 buck beds that could very well be his on occasion that are on the property I can hunt. I know he spends a lot of time with the neighbors, but he must be on mine some of the time. And I think I found one of those spots possibly. So I might take a stab in there. And I don't know. I'm a little less paranoid than I used to be about taking a swing, a couple times in October like that and go for it and maybe blow it up. But I think I've been coming back to both what I've seen and a lot of other people tell you is that these mature bucks, they get big and mature for a reason. They found a spot they feel safe. If you don't bug them over and over and over, you can get away with maybe one of those aggressive moves every once in a while. So
right.
I don't know. That's a pretty vague way of describing it because I'm still unsure. I don't have like a annual pattern that is going to be like, oh, definitely got to do that. In 2018, I got daylight activity of him in mid-October. I think like the 12th, 13th, or 14th, there was a cold front that hit. So I tried going back in around that time period this year. Didn't see him, didn't get any daylight pictures of him or anything. So there's not anything that's super solid like that I'm going to be working on. It's going to be more so make some adjustments on the fly, be more mobile. I'm not adding any more permanent sets anymore. I'm just going to run and go in my saddle. Just trying to get more quiet, more efficient with that so I can move in and out and just kind of get better at all those little things. That's another thing I'm trying to improve on this year. But
what about his routine compared to what Holyfield was doing? Any similarities?
Very similar. Very similar. Yeah, there's this neighboring property that is tough to get into for the person that hunts over there. And this section that they get into, just like lots and lots of thick brush, there's always a good buck that beds in there. And so it was Holyfield for a number of years, and I could see him in there because from my side I could see into that stuff, but I just can't hunt it. And so Holyfield kind of come in and out of that, and every once in a while he'd bump over into my stuff. Every once in a while he'd come and pass through a bedding area that is on my stuff. And once Holyfield disappeared, that very next year Tran was there. And now last year and the year before, basically doing the same thing. So I've seen him kind of moving in and out, and the times, it's interesting. The closest I ever came, let me think about this. I passed on Holyfield once, and that was the very closest I could have come to shooting him, I guess. But the second closest, let me make sure I don't have this stuff wrong. With a bow, I was closer to Holyfield with a bow. Well, you know the story. This is the time that it was the rut. It was midday, and you were on your phone. I was reading a book on my phone because I was bored, and then I hear a snap, and I turn around, Holyfield standing 25 yards behind me. So from that exact same tree, so that I could have killed Holyfield from that tree if I was paying attention. From that exact same tree is the closest I came to Tran as well. In the rut, Tran was with a doe in this little thicket right next to that tree, and I couldn't get a shot at him. So I'm identifying a couple of these weak spots where they're going to come in every once in a while during the rut, but there's no like clear cut. He's going to come from that bedding area and come into mine every other day or once a week or every night or something like that. Yeah. It's much more random, but I know they're going to bump over every once in a while, but despite all of my studying, despite all of my long distance observation, I've yet to be able to pin it down to, I guarantee they're going to come out this way, or I think that that's going to happen for sure. So it's more so of how do you get into those weak spots enough times without blowing things up so that the 1 out of 4 times that he comes through, you're there and you haven't messed it up yet. I don't know. It's kind of a weird spot to hunt. I'm putting more of my eggs in the basket during the rut there, I think, than I used to because like last year, we talked about, I passed on several really nice bucks back in those bedding areas. Like I figured out the rut there now. You hunt these back bedding areas that are hard to get to, but you just get in there super early and stay all day. And these bucks are going to check those. So if I can make it to that, early November and I still haven't killed them, that's a pretty good way. If I put in my time, they're going to come cruising through there. I could have killed that big 10 pointer a couple times. I could have killed a big 9 back there a couple times last year. So I don't know. It's a limiting little spot, but there's opportunities. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be more of the same frustrating stories. I saw him, couldn't get a shot. I saw him, couldn't get a shot. And we'll talk about it for 3 months and then be stuck talking about the same deer for 5 years.
Yeah. And I think the cool thing is I'm doing something similar. I have like 2 tree stands right now pre-hung. And I think that's the only pre-hanging I'm going to do. Excuse me, 3. And I say 2 because 1 is not going to be where I hunt probably this year. I'll tell you this, if Gnarley is alive, I probably won't even hunt that stand. But if he is alive, I have 2. 1 is already up in a bedding area. I cannot wait to get in there for the first time. There was a mature buck in there the first time I went in and hunted it. And then I have a pinch point stand set up. But other than that, it's going to be different tree every day. I just know it. Trying to find out where this guy's coming in and out. And I hope all the data stays true.
Yeah.
And I can continue to, and I have these encounters, because what was it? No encounters with him the first 2 years or the first 3 years. First 2 years. This year had encounter. He was on like this little spur ridge when I saw him. And so I'm going to be over there more this year on specific wins. And that's the goal, man, is just to keep tightening the noose.
No, it's a lot of fun. I love having a spot and a buck and you're rummaging through all the data and tightening the noose and trying to figure it all out. But the other thing that's a lot of fun is trying to find out and learn a brand new area. And I saw you were doing a bunch of scouting on some public land recently, talking about river bottom stuff and trying to figure out this new zone. What was the story over there?
Well, it was awesome. I mean, I love getting out there and scouting. I love putting in the work, but right now it's underwater. So, how optimistic am I that this area is going to recover, closer to October is going to be interesting. But I went back there, I did some scouting, and I had a bit of a dilemma, right? I get out there and I am on public ground. And I'm way back in there. I mean, I'm like 2 miles back from the parking lot, and I'm finding all this great sign, finding these trails where it's like high ground in between 2 marshes, right? These little bottlenecks, marking my spot, following the river, and just doing all this awesome scouting. And then I come up against I find some tree stands, which it's illegal in Iowa to have tree stands on public all year round, right? You can only put them up like 5 or 7 days before the season starts, and you have to have them down, I think 30 days after the season's over or something like that. Which I'm not going to rat that out, right? I'm not going to go and turn that in. I guess I'm not that guy, but the guy had since planted a food plot, so he's coming back this far on a boat. That's how he's accessing this tree stand. And he's got a trail camera there, and he's got a food plot now.
On public land?
So on public land, this person planted a food plot.
And you're sure this is public land? This isn't some guy's back 40?
No, 100% sure it's public land. And I said, okay, I'm just going to keep walking, not going to bother with this. But it just kept stewing in my head. Like, this dude came in and he planted a food plot on public land. Like, I can't do that.
Dude,
right?
Guaranteed, if this guy is crazy enough about whitetails to take a boat into this public land, to have a trail camera running in the summer, and to have a food plot to plant a food plot in public land, he listens to this podcast, and so he's listening right now. So what do you want to tell him?
Well, don't cheat. Sorry, dude. Don't cheat. And so I had this dilemma, right? I was like, should I turn this guy in? And I posted a questionnaire on Instagram, or a poll, should I turn him in? Should I turn him in? 70% of people said I should turn him in, and 30% said I should just ignore it. And there was like 600 people who did that. So whatever those numbers are, 70% thought I should turn it in. The other 30% said I should just ignore it and keep walking.
Here's the other alternative, Dan.
Yeah.
Just hunt the shit out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like
public land.
So I don't have a boat though. So I can't access it the same way that he is. However, so I go to the DNR, and I eventually point out a map. I said, there is a food plot right here. They don't like spray it. They're not going to go and spray it. And I said, so is that like area legal to hunt now? Or do I have to stay away from that? And he didn't really give me an answer. So I'm going to follow up. Well, right now it's all underwater. It will all die. It's going to die. So it's not a big deal. I mean, it's all just, so I hunt all this public land is basically high water runoff area. So when they, like right now, they'll raise the dam so there could be more boating traffic for the holiday weekends. And then after that, they'll lower it down a little bit. And so then that water should recede. But I don't know, man. I just felt, I felt like a rat, but at the end of the day, I don't give a shit. So.
Hey man, I get it. I totally get it. It's frustrating when you see people abuse now that's a kind of a weird thing because someone could say he's trying to improve it, but he's improving it in like a selfish way.
Yeah. I mean, it was a setup. It wasn't like a plot. And on this public land, the DNR plants food for these deer. So there's cornfields, there's bean fields, there's alfalfa fields. I mean, these deer have enough to eat. So I probably would have walked right by it if I didn't stop and see this guy's tree stand. I mean, it was this luscious clover plot, about half an acre of it, just right, maybe a little smaller than half acre. Yeah.
So here's the question. Was it a good setup? Like, did he set up on it well? Did he think about wind? And it sounds like decent access if he was taking the boat. But
yeah,
was it approved? Is it Dan Johnson approved as far as a smart set?
Well, I mean, it would. Let's just say what he did was legal. I would have given it a shot on a northwest wind that he set up kind of right on the curve of the river, so his wind would have been blowing right into the river and following it down. So it would have turned out. Like, I don't know, deer. There was a heavy trail near it. I mean, it was a decent spot. And with that clover there, I can just see it sucking deer in.
Mm-hmm. Man.
Yeah.
He probably listens to Nine Finger Chronicles too.
Yeah.
He had this whole plan in place.
I'm going to get my house burnt down now or graffitied. Rat.
Uh-huh. I love that river bottom stuff though. That is dude. Awesome country.
Yeah. That's where I cut my teeth on hunting, man. Everything I did back in the day was river bottom ground, learning how to hunt. Not necessarily river bottom, but like river system, creek system, flat land, in between the ag and the waterway. And that's where I did a lot of my hunting growing up until I started moving up into the ags and the finger. But, that's where I cut my teeth turkey hunting. That's where I cut my teeth deer hunting, and being able to go back and scout this public land and put a little bit of effort into it. It was really fun.
I believe it. I wanted to go do some of that stuff the other day. I've got an Idaho whitetail tag here, and I found a bunch of public land on Onyx, and I went and did my first deer drive out here and had my heart broken. Just like everything that looked possible on the map ended up being inaccessible or just way less appealing than I thought it was going to look. I saw almost no deer, there was not a single spot I went to that I circled as a spot I would come back to and hunt. So I'm right now without a single plan for my Idaho tag right now.
And you didn't get a Montana tag this year.
Yeah,
you didn't draw.
That's correct.
Okay.
So yeah, some brand new state, brand new area, have no real intel at all other than a few little, oh yeah, there's whitetails out there. And a couple pictures of people that have shot some to kind of prove it. So over these next few weeks, I've got to do some serious driving. There's an area about an hour and a half from where I'm at that's supposed to be pretty good, where there seems to be a lot of public land. But that's it's kind of a hike. It would have been nicer to have a place close to where I am, but a little disappointed by that. Which, speaking of, we haven't really talked about this, but I did a thing, Dan. I did a thing, which is why I'm hunting whitetails in Idaho, which is we had to upgrade from a camper. We couldn't do the whole sleeping in a 20-foot camper with 2 kids and 2 dogs. So I bought a little cabin in Idaho.
Nice.
So yeah, we've got like a permanent base of operations out here now. So yeah, that's why I'm going to try to figure out this Idaho whitetail thing, because it'd be really nice to have something close to where we're at here. Got an elk tag, so I'm going to try to explore what the elk opportunities are here. But if the whitetail thing doesn't pan out, I'm selling this piece of shit real fast.
Now, a lot of you guys are familiar with the old hunting tradition of eating, some organ, the heart or a chunk of liver off the first animal you kill. I had that when I was a little kid, and it was a big deal. Organ meats were always prized by frontier people who knew the importance of getting a lot of different minerals and nutrients. And as often is the case, those guys were onto something, because organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. And you can get the same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil, made exclusively from regeneratively raised, grass-fed, and finished cattle. Heart and Soil's unique freeze-drying process means all those important nutrients are trapped in, ensuring you experience every one of the benefits of nature's superfood in a clean, convenient, taste-free capsule. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And make sure to use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase. That's heartandsoil.co. Use the code MeatEater.
We've all seen plenty of gadgets and fads come and go, but here's one product that stood the test of time: Seafoam Motor Treatment. Lots of hunters and anglers know that Seafoam helps engines run better and last longer. And it's really simple. When you pour it into your gas tank, Seafoam cleans harmful fuel deposits that cause engine problems. I'm talking common stuff like hard starts, rough engine performance, or lost fuel economy. Seafoam is an easy way to prevent or overcome these problems. Just pour a can in your gas tank and let it do its job. Now, you probably know someone who's used a can of Seafoam to get their truck or boat going again, because people everywhere rely on it to keep their trucks, boats, and small engines running the way they should the entire season. So, help your engine run better and last longer. Pick up a can of Seafoam today at your local auto parts store, or visit seafoamworks.com to learn more.
I thought you would be buying something in Montana.
Well, I mean, for a long time we were trying. I've been, probably, 3-4 years now. We've been looking. The trick is that we need something really cheap, because we have our house in Michigan, so I needed something that was affordable, but also would be big enough to fit the family. And the biggest thing for me was that I wanted good access. If I was going to buy a place out here, I didn't want to be in town. I didn't want to be surrounded by people. The reason why I come out here is because I like to be away from people. So for years we were looking at things, and it was never the right fit. It was either too expensive or it just wasn't what we wanted. So I figured there's no rush. Might as well just wait until the right thing comes along. And then this past year we decided, well, maybe we need to expand our search outside of the Bozeman, Montana area that we were looking, because that's just crazy expensive. Tiny things are just tons of money. And I wasn't going to buy a tiny a tiny thing there that costs like 4 times more than my full-size house in Michigan. So we thought, all right, well, let's expand the radius and look at a couple of the other areas in that like Montana, Wyoming, Idaho zone that we usually go to. And long story short, found a little place that's right on the edge of the national forest that's less than 2.5 miles from 4 different really great trout rivers. I can walk to the public land. I could walk 45 miles straight without hitting a paved road and end up in a national park if I wanted. So super cool from all the kind of stuff we like to do out here. So decided take the leap. I've been saving up for a lot of years to try to do something like this someday, and finally found something that wasn't gonna allow us to do the things we want to do. So
absolutely,
here
man.
we are. It's crazy.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad your wildest dreams have come true, Mark Kenyon.
I appreciate that, Dan. I've been dreaming of poopy diapers and sitting in my truck and all of these things that the much less glamorous reality of it, but it is, it's cool. It's interesting though, because there's a little like living space, like your kitchen living area. And then there's one single bedroom. And so the bedroom is where we're putting our son. And then once Colton's old enough, we'll put both of them in there. But that means my wife and I have to sleep in the living room. And we ordered a couch, like a pull-out couch that you could turn into a bed,
Yeah.
After we placed the order, and you can't cancel the order, it gave us like a back order notification. So we're not getting it we've been out here for a month now. We're not going to get it for another couple weeks. So we've been sleeping on the previous owner's 2 couches for the last 4 weeks, waiting to get a pull-out bed. So,
yeah,
you can make it work, right?
Yeah, you can make anything work, man.
You can make anything work.
Yeah. So wait, okay, so Whitetail, Idaho, elk, Idaho, right?
Yep.
Whitetail, Michigan, and did you get Iowa this year or not?
No, just
no
Iowa.
Iowa.
No Iowa, just because there's so much back 40 stuff that I've got to be around for. I just wouldn't be able to get enough time. I think I'm going to try to do a little mid-October jaunt, maybe to Nebraska. I'm still kind of up in the air on that, but possibly public land hunt somewhere mid-October. And then, for I don't know how long I've been talking about wanting to do this December track a buck down the snow hunt.
Yep.
I've made no progress on planning that yet, but I still want to try to do it. So
gotcha.
If you want to come out to New York or Maine in early December, let me know.
Yeah, man, I've interviewed some people from Maine and New York and Vermont, and I think I'll just stick with Michigan.
Dude,
this year.
Doesn't that sound cool though?
Yeah, I mean, yes, that sounds awesome, but I don't know.
It's not Iowa.
I know. I mean, why don't you do it in like North Dakota?
Yes.
Or
there's cool things out there.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's just like this is the cultural thing. You go out there, it's like the big woods, lots of snow, follow a big track for 5 miles, come over the hillside. There he is. He's got a dusting of snow on his back. His nose is big and broad, and that Roman nose.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got like 3 little nubbins on each antler, but he's a big bodied buck. That's the hunt I want.
Right. I can't get mule deer out of my head right now.
I know.
Dude, I'm so jacked about this upcoming hunt. I mean, we figured it out the first year, and if it's as half as crazy as it was last year, man, we're in business again. So all I've been doing is just tweaking my gear list. I got some new packs. I got some more, some different equipment. I need to buy a new pair of boots, a new water filter. So I'm looking at all that stuff right now. And then I'm still like in the process of planning out 2020. I'm thinking that far ahead, man. So
we are in 2020. 2021,
I meant. My bad.
Are you giving enough mental time to Michigan in 2020?
Yeah. I gotta come, right?
Yeah, you do have to.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of excitement I was looking for. Well, I gotta do it.
Well, the shitty thing about this is that we've gotten this survey back from the school that says, here are 3 options. What is your comfort level with COVID, with COVID-19, and, how you, feel that, your kids do you feel so? Me personally, I am okay with my kids going back to school full time, riding the bus, going back amongst their regularly scheduled programming, right?
Okay.
But the other options were like 50-50, like your kid goes back a couple days a week and then it's on a rotation. So a day off, a day on, day off, day on, whatever. And then the other days the parent would be required to run through the curriculum with them at home. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Number one, I have no patience. Number two, I'm not a teacher and I'm busy, right? I have other kids I got my youngest kid to take care of. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to have to put him in front of cartoons or feed him just so he's quiet. And then the other option is full-time at-home curriculum to start the year out with. And I just hope that they bring the kids back to school full time or I'm in trouble. Like me and the wife are gonna, like, from a job standpoint and the time we need to give to the jobs, we're gonna kind of be in trouble. So
okay, yeah, I hear you, but let's look at the silver lining here. Okay, yeah. There's like 11 million whitetail deer hunters in the country, give or take, somewhere in that ballpark. There are something like 320 million total people in the country,
right?
Something like that. Right. All right. And what percentage of that 320 million do you think are parents? I'm going to say, I don't know, 50%, 60%, something like that, maybe. So you're looking at over 100, 150, 170, 180 million parents out there. That's the target audience for the new version of Nine Finger Chronicles, which is all about training your kids at home. It's all about teaching your kids at home. So you've got a much bigger pool of potential audience members than your 11 million deer hunters. All you got to do, just pivot. Just pivot, man.
Straight pivot. Quit talking. Quit talking about deer and start talking about how much of a shitty father I am.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm recommending. From one friend to another. Try it. Trust me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll do it. Let me just talk to my sponsors and ask them first. Hey, you care if I stop talking about deer hunting? And this, I just want to say, my name is Dan Johnson. This is the Nine Finger Chronicles, brought to you by Lone Wolf Tree Stands. And on this episode, we're going to talk about what you can do to keep your child occupied while you're teaching the other child.
But first,
I don't see that flow.
But first, an advertisement from Gerber Baby Foods. I'm telling you, there's opportunity. Right. I think on that note, it's time for our next segment, Dan.
What's the next segment, Mark?
Call Furter and see if he'll answer.
Oh, shit. We're doing that again?
Why not?
Let's do it.
No, it'll be very disappointing if he doesn't pick up because it was such a great surprise last time when he did. So I say,
think of a question to ask him.
Yeah. And second question is, if he doesn't answer, we can leave a voicemail still.
Yeah. What county does he live in Michigan? Do you know?
I don't know if I should say that publicly or not. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not quite sure.
Well, I'll leave him a message.
Yeah. East side of Michigan, whatever.
Doesn't matter. I don't need the county. I don't need the county.
Yeah. Sound like some kind of authoritative figure and he's in trouble for something. Maybe it's Michigan IRS. Maybe it's the IRS, just federal government. Could be taxes. I don't know. Let's call him and see what happens.
Wild game violations.
That's all possible. Let's see what happens here.
This is a thing. This is a thing now. Let's call Furter.
It's absolutely a thing. Is it working?
I can't hear it ring.
All right, hold on.
How cool would it be to have a podcast where all we do is prank call Furter? It's a spinoff.
That would probably be a lot more successful than this one.
He already hates you. You know that, right?
Oh, God. All right. I don't know why I can't get this to work, but hang with me here. Here we go. All right. Add. Are you still there, Dan?
I'm still here.
I don't know if it's dialing yet. Josh, you there? Hello? Hello?
I don't see anything on my end. Oh, it's saying 2 of 3 in the call. So it looks like it's ringing, but it's not. He hasn't added.
He just texted me and said he's on the phone.
What an ass.
All right, well, let's leave them out. Hold on. We got one alternative here still.
This is the part where if you got to go take a poop or pee, then you go do it and then come back.
All right, I got one more opportunity here. We're going to go with the phone number instead of Skype. And he may be on the phone, but we can still leave a voicemail to annoy him.
Yeah, I know. I love how okay, since this is Skype, is it going to show up as unavailable?
I'm not sure about that, to tell you the truth.
You know, they say in broadcasting, dead air isn't good, Mark.
This isn't riveting. This isn't riveting audio.
No, dude, I guarantee you mark this time down on your podcast.
You've reached Josh Hilliard, Regional Director with the QDMA.
Can't laugh,
I'm unable
Mark.
to take your call at the moment. Please leave a message with your name and number, and I'll be sure to return your call as soon as possible. Thank you, and have a good day.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Yeah, Mr. Hilliard, this is Officer Randall with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, and we have a couple questions we need to ask you about where you were at and what you were doing June 25th, 2020. Go ahead and give us a call at, you know the number. Call me back.
That was very convincing.
That's dumb. That was dumb. I know I could have done better.
Oh,
Should we just call him until I get it right?
He has 9 voicemails when he gets off the phone. Oh,
right.
man. I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up.
Portion bombed.
I think that's a good spot to wrap it up, Dan, unless you've got any other big summer updates.
No, man. I'm just slowly getting jacked. I'm slowly getting jacked for October, the mule deer hunt, the Michigan hunt, and Iowa. Yeah, I've been baking those brownies, getting the brownie points.
It's good. That's what you got to do this time of year. I'm right there with you.
Absolutely.
Although I've been getting in trouble for fishing too much, so these distractions sometimes are throwing me off the game. But yeah, man, let's circle back up in a few weeks to talk more about some of the parenting lessons we've gained over the last couple of years. Because since that one, I think when we recorded that one, was Knox born yet, or was he just about to be?
I'm not sure. I think it depends on when it was launched or when we recorded it, but I think it was just Mac and Ava. And if it was, he was too young to do anything with anyway.
Yeah. So lots to learn since then. 3 kids for you, 2 kids for me. And maybe we'll call Furter back in for that one too. He's got a kiddo now, and he's got a thing or two maybe he's learned over the last few years. So,
Absolutely.
All right, buddy. Good stuff. I can't wait to see what the trail camera poll shows you here soon. Keep me posted.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
See ya. All right, and that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for tuning in. This is a little change of pace. The last handful of weeks have been pretty serious strategy. Today was a little bit more of just kicking back, laughing, telling some stories, and kind of getting you guys up to speed on how Dan and I are progressing towards the 2020 season. So hopefully you still enjoyed this one. We will be back with some serious how-tos coming up soon. And until then, thank you so much for listening, and stay wired to hunt.
I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the old ceremonial hunting tradition of eating the heart out of the first animal you kill. Meat from those organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. You can get those same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And remember, use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase. After 3 years of work, our follow-up to the Meat Eater Fish and Game Cookbook is here. It's the Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, campfire, and camp stove. Here is your book for everything that's best cooked or eaten outside, from grilling to open fire cooking to Dutch ovens to smokers to barbecue to backpacking meals to how to pull off the perfect fish fry, with pit stops along the way for lessons about Ice Age cooking methods and the best 5 ways to construct a cooking fire you can be proud of. And of course, we're focusing on wild game and fish here with over 100 recipes, including stuffed venison burgers 3 ways, wild duck with ahi verde sauce, a jerky made with cola, a gin and tonic made with fire-charred lemons, and grilled frog legs made with a sticky sweet sauce. This ain't your normal cookbook, so be prepared to be surprised. Get your copy now. For more info, visit themeateater.com or buy it wherever books are sold.